Last week, somebody asked me a phenomenal question. The Torah doesn't share information with us unless it's important for us to know that information. The Torah tells us that Avraham was 86 years old when he was circumcised. 86, not when he was circumcised. When Yishmael was born, he was 86 years old when Yishmael was born. And he was circumcised at the age of 99. And the Torah tells us, and Yishmael was 13. So Rashi cites the Midrash. Why does the Torah tell us the age of Avraham when Yishmael was born? What difference does it make? The main thing is, Yishmael was born, his age is irrelevant at this point, correct? It's not angels came to say you're going to have a child. He had a child. He fathered a child, his name's Yishmael. But the Torah goes out of its way to tell us that he was 86 years old. What's the value of that information? So Rashi cites the Midrash. Why? To teach us, to tell us that Yishmael was 13 at the age of circumcision. Why? Because if his father was 86 and Avraham was circumcised at the age of 99, evidently he's 13 years old when he's being circumcised. That's how many years later. When you circumcise a newborn child, the child doesn't have much say in the matter. The parent decides to circumcise the child, he's circumcised. But here, where he's 13 years old, he's not a child. He's not an infant. And he has the ability to oppose it. But yet, Yishmael allowed himself to be circumcised. Therefore, the Torah tells us that Avraham was 86 when Yishmael was born. That sounds like a phenomenal reason. Because the Torah wants to tell us how special Yishmael was, that even though his father's 99 and he was born when his father was 86, therefore, it tells us how special Yishmael was. Even at the age of 13, he agreed to be circumcised. So this person asked me a question, but when it tells us that Avraham was circumcised at the age of 99, it says, and Yishmael, the son, was 13. So it says explicitly, at the time of the circumcision, he was 13 years old. So if that's the case, what do we have to know how old Avraham was when he was born? That's the question this person asked me. Everybody understand the question. It's a phenomenal question. So this person had an answer. Just because you have a question doesn't mean you have the right answer, right? The answer to me had no relevance to the question. So this is what I said to him. Now, we find what precipitated the Akedah. Yishmael felt, being the son of Avraham, he should be the heir apparent of his father. He's older, he's the older brother. And there was a little bit of interplay between the two of them that Yishmael always, in a certain way, attempted to jeopardize Yitzchak in many ways. His life, his spirituality, and that's the reason why Sari Menu said to Avram, you must drive this maidservant and her son from the home. Because if Yitzchak is in any way diminished, spiritually speaking, he will not be the patriarch he's meant to be for the Jewish people. Therefore, she and her son has to be driven from the home. That's the story. What precipitated the Akedah? Yitzchak is 37 years old, and it's clear he's the favorite of his father. He's a holy man. And Yishmael says to his brother, to Yitzchak, he says, you think you're so holy and you're so special? He says, when you were circumcised, you were 8 days old. That's how old Yitzchak was circumcised. So you didn't have much of a say when you were circumcised. I was 13 years old. I could have opposed it. And I didn't. So don't you think I'm more special than you? My sacrifice for God is more than your sacrifice. Because I, at the age of 13, allowed myself to be circumcised. So Yitzchak says to Yishmael, you sacrificed with one part of your body to have your male organ being circumcised. If God would ask me to give my life, I'm ready to be sacrificed, my totality. Not just have the foreskin removed from me. So that precipitated the Akedah. So because Yitzchak made that comment, that statement, that commitment, God says to Avraham, take your son, bring him up as a burnt offering. And there, when he was brought as that, Yitzchak did not oppose it, did not in any way, he even assisted his father. He was bound hand and foot, and he did everything to accommodate his father that he should be able to carry this out, to prove to the world at what level he's committed to God. So it's not only Avraham bringing his son as a sacrifice, Yitzchak himself welcomed this. It's like Rabbi Kiva when he was being killed by the Romans and his students were crying. And he said, what are you crying? I've waited for this moment. I'm displaying now my love for God, even to give my life. It's not a time to cry. It's a time to rejoice for me. God gives me the ultimate opportunity. Yitzchak saying, I'm ready to give my life to God. And now the world will know it. This is a great moment. So Yitzchak saying, my level of sacrifice overweighs yours endlessly. It pales that it's almost non-existent. That precipitated it. Okay, now I'm going to address the question. When Yishmael was circumcised at the age of 13, it says Avraham circumcised himself, his son, all the members of his household, and all his acquisitions of slaves. He circumcised all of them. The other ones he circumcised, did they have much say in the matter? No, they were his chattels. When you take an animal and you brand it, you brand the animal whether the animal likes it or not. You being part of Avram's household, you must carry the sign of the Holy Covenant. You have to be circumcised. You have no choice in the matter. Maybe when Yishmael was circumcised, maybe Avram, his father, imposed himself on him. So where do we see that it was so special? Here, Yishmael is priding himself that what he did is special because he allowed himself to be cut at the age of 13. The circumcision. I'm greater than you are. Who said you allowed yourself? You know, Avram wasn't an ordinary person. He was a very powerful person. In many ways, he did not have a say in the matter. Even not that he physically forced you, but his persona, his presence, you couldn't say no. That's the reason why you were circumcised. If that's the case, what is he priding himself? I was circumcised at the age of 13, and I didn't oppose it. Maybe you had no choice. Your father imposed himself on you. But yet, Yitzchak says, I will outdo you endless times over. I will give my life as a sacrifice. Now, how do we know that Yishmael willingly and happily allowed himself to be circumcised? Okay? There's nothing superfluous in the Torah. If we just want to know that he was circumcised at the age of 13, the Torah could have said, as it does say, Avram was 99 and Yishmael was 13. So he'd say, but what was Yishmael's state of mind? Maybe he was coerced. Maybe he had no choice. But if he had no choice, why does the Torah have to tell me that when Yishmael was born, his father was 86 years old? That piece of information is totally superfluous. If I know he's 13 at time of circumcision, evidently I know that his father was 86 when he was born. So why is the Torah that information with me? You know why it's telling me? To tell me that when he was circumcised at the age of 13, he did it with willingness. As a result of that, there was a basis to precipitate and enter this conversation with Yitzchak. I could have opposed it. I did it willingly. That's how committed I am to God. I'm allowing myself to be circumcised. Not only did I not oppose it, I welcomed it. So I'm greater than you. Yitzchak says, you're greater than I am. If God would have asked me to give my life, to be born as a sacrifice, to be slaughtered, even that I willingly will do. Therefore, that piece of information is not superfluous. It's only to reveal that Yishmael's involvement in circumcision was with willingness and happiness.